Today, we're going to be reacting to the video of Mr. Who's the Boss, who bought every single PlayStation in history. And he's going to be playing the same game in all the PlayStations so we can see how much has gaming really evolved. Let's jump right into it. It's kind of crazy how long ago the PlayStation 1 was made.
But Sony realized something, that now is the perfect time for 3D. Yeah, this is a real sealed PlayStation.
Damn.
Straight from 1994. And inside we've got
That's
the video
crazy.
adapter, in case your TV didn't have the right connectors, the AC adapter to plug into the mains, the controller, which was of course wired, and the console. Hopefully it turns
I
out.
never got, my first PlayStation I ever got, I was actually from PlayStation 2.
Sound. That's basically the sound of a cathode ray gun shooting electrons at the display panel.
That's crazy.
CRT TVs power on the original PlayStation.
It's,
Buttons. I don't want to experience opening the disc drive.
I don't even know where he, oh, I remember the disc,
No moving parts.
the disc spinning.
No.
Oh my god.
The controller is so light, it kind of feels like it's not even there. And also, look at this, no analog sticks. There's one thing Sony
Oh,
smashed
wait, what?
Buttons. This is so nice.
I just noticed
Now,
that.
with only
Oh,
2
Gran
megabytes of
Turismo.
RAM, a maximum resolution of 480p, and no internal storage,
480p.
the PS1 stats might sound pitiful by modern standards. Kilobyte storage card for it, which is a very weird thing to do.
128 kilobytes.
Today's equivalent of $570, this was the most powerful console money could buy. So this is Gran Turismo
Damn.
running on the PS1. And if you compare it to Nintendo or Sega's supposed 3D offerings, you'll quickly notice that Sony is the only one capable of rendering real 3D models. With
That's actually
real
crazy.
reflections on the cars. It looks insane in comparison, but wait till you see what the next PlayStation can do. Sony also realized that they couldn't just be more powerful. Their brand also had to be different to Nintendo and Sega's. And their way of doing that was swapping the controller letters for shapes. And it wasn't because Sony loved geometry, the shapes have significance. For example, the blue cross and the red circle, they represent yes and no, which even now to this day,
I did not know that.
for in games.
Damn.
Out of nowhere, with the PS1 becoming the first console ever to pass 100
Shit.
million units sold. So, how did Sony top that? Well, only
Sony has been
the
amazing.
best-selling console in the history of consoles. Sony's approach to the PlayStation 2, released in 2000 at about 4.
It's still crazy that we're, to this day, this is still the top selling console. I mean, you'd think that there's more, like it's 2000, it's 22 years later. There's way more people on the planet. There's more people that play gaming. It's crazy how they haven't topped it.
So significantly cheaper than the PS1 can be summed up with one phrase. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
That's the, I think that's the one I got.
Revolution. And the unboxing experience,
The first one.
mirrors that philosophy. You get an upgraded
Oh my
controller, as well as a
God.
similar AC cable and TV adapter to last time.
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
so when you have
yes.
so many
Okay, no, I had a different
Almost
one.
everything about the PS2 is a direct, no-frills improvement over its predecessor. It comes with about 12 times the amount of raw processing power, depending on how you measure it, 16 times the amount of RAM, and no less than 63 times the amount of storage on the default memory card. This had 8 megabytes. Remember, back in the day,
8
consoles
megabytes.
used to have these enormous hard drives inside of them to be able to install games onto. The entire game would be fit onto the game disc itself.
Oh, okay.
So the
That's pretty
only extra
interesting.
storage you needed was just a memory card for your save files.
Oh,
which you could
yeah.
then take out and carry your saves to your friend's house with. So if we turn the PS2 on,
Damn.
this is my childhood. So there's
Yeah.
a button up here. That sounds amazing.
I had a different PlayStation 2 though. It might have been like the Slim.
These things are. That difference is crazy.
Oh, wow.
The difference versus the PS1 is absolutely night and day. The processing power
That's
allows it to render
actually-
many times the amount of polygons on screen, which reduces the blocky look of the PS1 era. And the extra RAM allows for background textures to just have way more going on in them. Like even the finish line banner, it now blows about in the wind. And the master stroke with the PS2 was how Sony managed to, through the design of the console, make it extremely clear that this was a next-gen bit of kit. Led the PlayStation 2 to break every record ever set.
158
million units.
Yeah.
You had Nintendo's GameCube and Microsoft's original Xbox also around at this time, but they didn't even sell
Dwayne
as
Johnson?
much as the PS2 did. And to keep up with the increasing complexity of the games, Sony also upgraded the controller with something they call DualShock, which is a combination of dual analog sticks and built-in rumble technology. So you can really feel the texture of the grass, and if you're not a good driver like me, the texture of the wall. Sony wasn't kidding with the word rumble. The PS2 was also technically the first time you could play your games online, but you had to rely on the individual game developers to create their own servers, as Sony didn't develop their own infrastructure for online connectivity until the PlayStation 3. Arguably the first Sony console to properly herald in the digital age.
Yeah,
This
I
time
remember
around,
that.
Intel's
Blu-ray disc as well.
Hence the included Ethernet cable, as well as the TV output cables and a USB mini cable to charge the further upgraded.
I remember that Blu-ray was super
I
cool
probably
back
don't
then.
need to tell you, but the PS3 was also the boldest console Sony had ever made. Look at this beefcake.
Oh, yeah.
Plus, do you recognize that text? Yeah, that's the Spider-Man font, because Sony owns the Spider-Man IP, and they thought it would help them to sell more consoles. It did not. The good news is that the PS3 took some notes from the PS2 in the ramp everything up department. The bad news is that this time that also included the price. To try and make the PS3 feel like a completely new era in gaming, Sony had a special custom cell processor designed just for it. But this was really expensive, pushing the launch price of this console all the way up to $869.
Damn, I didn't remember it being like that.
Supremely pricey, especially given the console's creaky plastic exterior, but oh boy was this thing powerful. As a matter of fact, as an overall system, it was about 35 times more powerful than the PS2, making it 384 times more powerful than the PS1. These are ridiculous numbers. In fact, the PS3 was so advanced that it was actually used to build supercomputers.
What?
A truly genius move by Stanford University researchers who developed an app called Folding at Home, which allowed PS3 users to dedicate a portion of their supercomputing power to aid with complex protein folding calculations, used to learn more about how to prevent diseases like Alzheimer's.
That's crazy.
It was also pretty good at games. So I never actually owned a PS3 at launch, but I remember how I felt when my friend got one for the first time. It really felt like a machine from the future. Like, I remember being just giddy with excitement that something of this power actually existed. You also notice they've actually started putting attention into how the discs look at this point. And the disc loading mechanism...
Oh, that was so
inside the
cool.
console now. There's no tray that comes in and out.
That was pretty cool.
Quiet. Or cool for that matter. Like an oven back here. And it's only on the home screen. You can kind of see that this is the point where the console became
Damn,
much
I
more than
remember,
just a place
bro.
to play video games. It's the first time there's a proper home screen that you would actually want to spend time in. This literally used to be one of the coolest things in the world. The fact that you could change your home screen color.
That's so cool. I remember that.
I spent a lot of time there. You think at that point that you can't make the same generational leap again.
Wow.
But this is it. And also you can actually feel the mechanics of the game becoming more sophisticated as well. There's more physics involved. So now we have the PS3 Gran Turismo next to the PS2, next to the PS1. I can't wait to complete this line, but already the leap is phenomenal. The first key difference being resolution. While the PS1 is outputting the game at 512 by 240, the PS2 is pushing over 3 times more pixels at 852 by 480. And the PS3 was running at 2 times that at 1280 by 720. Or in other words, for the very first time, true high definition gaming. This is basically the difference between you going into the settings on this video and swapping between 240p, 480p, and 720p. Massive. But it's not just more pixels, it's also much more complex game effects. One of the most impressive things about the PlayStation 3 was its ability to also handle almost lifelike lighting, shadows, and reflections, not to mention vast sprawling backgrounds. Something else I'm noticing is how much nicer the controller is. It's wireless, it's weightier because it's now got an inbuilt battery, and also has motion sensors built into it. And also, compared to the PS2's controller, the triggers just have much more travel. They call this the 6-axis controller, because as well as all the buttons, it could also pick up how you move the controller itself and translate that into the game. Even though it was the home to god-tier games like Grand Theft Auto 5 and The Last of Us, even though it was where Sony launched their free online PlayStation Network service, even though it also doubled as a media machine with full Blu-ray disc compatibility, Sony really screwed up that pricing. It ended up selling 84 million units, barely half of the PS2, and was slightly outsold by Microsoft's Xbox 360. Sony was on the back foot again. They needed to do something special.
The PS4.
Microsoft did their job for them.
I remember this one. 2013?
Xbox One in 2013.
8 years
Microsoft
ago?
Screwed up their marketing so badly that Sony could have
Or
released
9 years ago.
PlayStation 3 and probably still won. The fact that Microsoft forced users to also buy the Kinect camera with the console, forced users to be always online, and focused almost completely on how the next-gen Xbox would work as a TV box rather than a games console. It made it almost too easy for Team Blue. Sony even took to the stage to rip apart the Xbox One's deliberate inability to play borrowed games.
This is how you share your games on PS4.
I remember that.
And it was pretty much game over at that point. Now, when you add to this that the PS4 was also insanely well designed, it starts to make sense why it completely popped off. Like, check out the new DualShock 4 controller. It incorporates the DualShock tech from the PS2 controller and the 6-axis
Yeah, I
motion
mean,
sensing from the
it looked
PS3
really
controller,
cool.
and it makes both aspects much more refined. The analog sticks are now also further apart, and they're concave for better grip. There's a new share button, which reflects the shift to social gaming. Plus, we've now also got an RGB LED light on the front as an identifier for which player you are, a speaker in the controller itself for a directional sound experience, and even a 2-inch touchpad in the middle for menu navigation. I remember the moment that I got to hold one of these for the first time, and I was just sat there like an idiot, like turning it over and over in my hands for 10 minutes straight, thinking, holy cow, this is real. The PS4 is about 10 times more powerful than the PS3,
Shit.
making it, the numbers are getting kind of out of hand at this point,
I mean,
about 3,800 times
wow.
as powerful as the PS1. It had 8 gigabytes of RAM, which is 32
And
times
people
the
play
PS3,
Warzone on it, you know?
1,096 times the original.
Crazy.
And not to mention that because the PS4 is based off a less custom, more standard PC-like architecture, it was way easier for developers to work with it and fully extract that power. I know this section is all about the PS4, but all I can hear is this PS3. So this is actually quite exciting. This is the first time you can turn the console on with the controller. So this is very much a refined version of the PS3's home screen, much more blocky in style. Oh my god, listen to it. It's louder than the PS3. There was me thinking this was going to be a nice...
Oh yeah, the PS4.
Only halfway through. This room that we're in is basically a sauna right now. Let's boot up the game. You can also tell the text is way sharper and more readable now. You can actually now pick the exact time of day of your race, and it will affect the weather conditions accordingly. You can feel such a visceral...
You can hear the... Welcome to PS4 Airlines.
Right, so I've actually filled up a bag with ice just to cool it down, because this is getting ridiculous. I'm going to lay it on top of the ice pack. In my mind, this is what a modern racing game looks like. The game almost has like an atmosphere that the other ones lack. Excuse my driving. I can actually also notice a bit of realistic damage on my car, so upgraded physics too. What do you do with this much power then? Well, I mean, just for starters, a further doubling of the resolution to now 1080p or Full HD. The PS4 could happily fill a 40-inch TV and not look like it was being stretched. And it also just gave developers the headroom to be creative, to build not just detailed backgrounds, but fully open worlds, to execute their visions in their entirety. Plus, they could now add pretty much any visual effect they could think of. Dirt particles, motion blur, realistic fog, and it's in these details where you really feel the difference versus the PS3. So when you combine all of this with the fact that the PlayStation 4 also launched at a much friendlier $500 in today's money, it's not surprising that it went on to sell 120 million units, more than doubling Microsoft's competing Xbox One. It's kind of hard to imagine how this masterpiece can actually now be seen as a relic of the past. But the PS5 firmly pushes it aside, cementing itself as the wildest, most futuristic PlayStation to ever exist.
PS5, baby.
Really run with this idea of futurism.
And we're barely even getting what it can do.
To the headset they launched alongside it, it all shares this two-tone, ultra-minimalistic, space-age design philosophy. And I freaking love it. The moment I saw the PS5 get announced, I shrieked. Like, what gamer doesn't want a console that looks like a literal alien starship? And I mean, it makes the Xbox Series X that it's competing against look like a prude by comparison. There is also this strangely shaped stand, which actually very cleverly can support the console either horizontally or vertically. But do the internals keep up? Absolutely. The PlayStation 5 dunks on its predecessor. It has 2 times the RAM at 16 gigabytes, and its core graphics processing unit is 8 times more powerful. And that's crazy. In its solid-state storage that's at least 50 times faster than the PlayStation 4's hard drive. And this is the fun part about compounding multiples. When compared to the original PS1, the PS5 is approximately 30,000 times more powerful. You could make a bridge of PlayStation 1s spanning an entire city, and it still wouldn't be able to outperform a single PS5. Let's see how the PS5 compares. Love these LEDs on the inside. Such a classy touch. This is such a fun video as well. Hey, if you want to see me make a comparison of every Nintendo console ever, then a sub to the channel would be historic. Oh my god, I'm blinded. Adjust HDR. Oh, that is actually one of the new features here. Just like insane levels of contrast. I know we're only on the homepage right now, but this screen... The one thing you really notice about PS5's UI is everything is very visual and full screen. Wow. The amount of buildings. You can see individual settlements over here in the background. Okay, just look at the difference in color between this screen and this
it's
screen.
crazy.
A lot of that is just the new high dynamic range. I can hear applause coming through the speaker in the controller. You can even see the clouds in the sky reflected on the body of my car.
Damn.
Moving in real time. Oh my god, it's so rumbly.
True.
Okay, This is a huge upgrade, even from the PS4. Not only is the resolution now full 4K, 4 times higher than 1080p, but the PS5 is also capable of real-time ray tracing. Meaning that instead of pre-baking the light reflections into a scene, like most video games have done till now, this console can simulate the real physical behavior of light in real time, and how it affects every single pixel on screen.
That's crazy,
and I can
dude.
also feel not just the general rumble from my engine thanks to DualShock, but also the physical sensation of putting pressure on the pedal thanks to the new adaptive triggers in this controller that can adjust their tension on the fly. Every PlayStation console together in one frame. What a sight. Imagine what the PS6 is going to look like.
And well, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Every single PlayStation. It was crazy. I mean, I remember having my first one, which was a PlayStation 2 Slim, I believe. And I've had all the PlayStations ever since that one. And it's been crazy. Let me know down below in the comments, what was your favorite PlayStation of all time? Peace out, everybody. And I'll see you all on the next one.